Hello, thanks for joining me today. I'm joined by Gary Abraham and Emily Groves from LetMojo. Hello, Gary. Hello, Emily. How are you doing?
Hi,
Hi,
David.
fine, thanks.
Very good, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us today. Um, we're going to look at one of the main issues that often comes up in terms of the lettings system and the administration around lettings. One of the key points that an agent is employed to look after is vetting the tenants. Once you've found a tenant, is putting them through that referencing process. Now, a lot of us are using automated systems, but there are a great deal of agents still stuck doing almost manual credit checks. So the credit check element side of things is just one part of the referencing process, but there are lots of documents that previously we've all wanted to sort of get our hands on and have a look at. And in the old days, that used to be a very painstaking process. I say the old days because I'm slightly more enlightened, but there are a great deal of agents out there that are still going through that process manually themselves. From your perspective, guys, obviously that's something that your system seeks to solve. But how often do you come across agents that are still kind of working on that older system?
Well, I think 2 points there. We come across agents that are doing automation, which we we believe there is a place for in the market, but we also are against full automation most of the time because it's when I say against it, we're not against it for the right tenant, but there are certain tenants where I think automation doesn't work. We say this all the time. It's it's like having a sweet shop and you pick and mix. So we want to be in a position where we can offer all the different types of referencing. So I think automation works some of the time, but not all of the time because it just doesn't pick up any mistakes. That's the problem. If somebody sends out a tenant reference or what's the word I'm looking for? A reference for employment reference, and it's gone to the wrong email, nobody would chase that up probably for 4 to 5 days. And so the most crucial part of referencing, I believe, for a letting agents is speed of service. And that's, I think, where LetMojo get it correct. Am I right there, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what you're saying in terms of agents checking those documents themselves, it does happen surprisingly often. That's either because they're doing their referencing in-house still, but it's also because they use these systems that are very highly automated because they can't check a bank statement or a payslip as a system. That still then relies on the letting agent to do that themselves.
Yes.
So it does happen quite frequently because either they're doing it in-house or because they're using a highly automated system that can't look at a bank statement and can't look at pay slips and work out where it is. So you've got both sides of it there, really.
And it's interesting for those tenant in that process, if you have a highly automated system, what Gary said is quite correct. Lettings and property in general isn't a one size fits all scenario. There's always going to be things that fall outside of the box, if you like. If you're working off strict electronic criteria, then that actually might end up working a lot more slowly than using a system like yours. Talk to us then about the differences in your system and how LetMojo works. I mean, just one of the things that springs to mind as we're talking about this is it's almost like a GDPR nightmare sometimes, the lettings admin process in terms of the amount of stuff that we used to receive. So copies of people's pay slips and bank statements, and if they don't then go on to complete the tenancy, a lot of that information rightfully should be returned to the tenant or destroyed or so on. So in terms of the management of all that information throughout the right to rent process and then also the referencing, we amass a lot of documents. I imagine with your system, it takes care a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have sort of that right to rent covered as well, because our system will auto delete that data in line with legislation to make sure you don't hold on to it too long. So it's got, we have automation where it suits, where it's needed. We do have certain things we're not, anti-technology. It does work sometimes, but in referencing, we do referencing. It's our main thing that we do. As a letting agent, you have a lot of things that you have to do, and referencing is a small part of it, an important part, but a small part of it. So we will always see more documents and more people coming through referencing than any one letting agent will. So we are, more used to seeing what, all the different bank statements look like, different pay slips, what they look like, and what we should be looking for on them, because we have more experience in look at those, because we reference thousands and thousands of tenants, and we've all worked in the referencing industry a long time, so we've seen it all.
You know what to look out for.
Yeah, we know what to spot. And some letting agents are surprised when you tell them things like there are websites where you can go online and you can buy a bank statement or buy a pay slip because you're using it for drama purposes.
Yeah.
But obviously, if they want to do that, it looks real. And, if you aren't looking at a high volume of these documents, you may miss something that then lead you to put the wrong tenant in.
I have to say that the whole right to rent scenario, to me, when it was initially introduced a few years ago, seems like a nightmare, because, we're not border control police. We don't know what a fake passport or a fake driving license or any kind of fake document, how would we know whether to verify it, from a genuine document and what's a fake? And that responsibility under the legislation is very much delegated to agents to carry out. But I often wonder how many of those agents are able to spot the sort of things that you guys are old hands at spotting.
Yeah, I always think with the right to rent, I keep waiting and hoping for them to get rid of the legislation, because obviously it's only in England, and they obviously said that they didn't want to roll it out into Wales or into Scotland. It's just in England that you are required to act on behalf of the Home Office, and it's it's difficult, it's a challenge, because it's not something that really should fall within a letting agent's remit, in my opinion, but that's my personal opinion.
No, I think that's an opinion, by the way, that a lot of letting agents hold. It's something that we feel adds no true value to the process, so neither to the landlord or the tenant. And it's got so many holes in that system that, I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's only as good as the paperwork that you receive, and that's my issue with it. How real is it? I suppose it's only using people like yourselves where you would actually get to know what's real and what's not.
Yeah, and that's it. And our system will make sure you get the right documents is the first step, I guess, of that, because again, it's surprising how often I speak to someone and they aren't getting the right documents. It's easy to ask for a passport, great, but where people don't have a passport, so often I hear, well, I get a driving license and a bank statement. Well, that's not suitable right to rent documents, and they don't realise that. So having a system that will guide you through, tell you what documents to get, read the MIZ numbers of your passports, and we have other systems as well and checks that will further check those documents. So we do also have a system that will check a passport against a selfie of someone to see if it's the same person, and check it against the Met Police's database for fraudulent people. So again, automatic checks there, electrical checks.
So that's interesting. So your system will also sort of check it against a register that's already in place for people that may have tried to circumvent this system before.
Yeah, so it's the Met Police's Amber Hill database that we can check against. So we do have a check where you can upload a driving license or a passport or a residence permit, and the tenant can upload that and a selfie, and it will check that the selfie's a live selfie, check it against the document, and then, like I say, check it against that database as well. Has about 160,000 records on it, I think.
Wow, that's amazing. And just for people that aren't familiar with the difference between a live selfie and a real selfie, so ID verification systems these days that require people to input a picture of themselves, well, we can all go and take a picture of a picture. So if I've got a picture of you, Emily, I could pretend to be you, take that picture, upload it to a system, and if the system wasn't intelligent enough, it wouldn't be able to work out what the difference would be. But in those liveness verification checks, they actually make you perform certain actions that nobody else could do. So typically they might ask you to cover one eye or put your hand on your head, or I've seen those before. Your system, I'm presuming, does all of that.
Yeah, so that's our enhanced ID check that we have. So, you know, that's sort of, if you are wanting that extra level of protection and know that document does belong to that person, that's what that system does. So that is sort of separate to our right to rent system. So we have the two different systems there. So you can do a full scale, is this definitely this person check, or, you know, a lesser scale, well, we'll want to do the right to rent, which documents do we need, read the MOZ number. So we have the two different options there for you, depending on what you need as an agent, because as Gary said, it's very much pick and mix. We want to help you to perform at your best, and what do you need us to do to make that happen? Choose your level.
I think the problem that we're trying to solve is, if I went into a doctor's, okay, where I pay my NHS and I go into a doctor's and he tells me, you know, I've got this wrong, I don't turn around to him and say, well, I think you're wrong there because I think it's this and this and this. You know, I accept his professional judgment for what he's saying, because he's the expert. We are the experts in referencing and right to rent and all the other things we do. A letting agent looks after lots of other things, and I think that some of them try to become experts in referencing when it's only a small part of their business. And when you're talking about £20, you've got to look at the cost of what these these letting agents have for cost of doing a reference. And when you're paying your staff, you've got buildings to cover and things like that. Surely for me, it's much better to pay somebody that really knows what they're doing, the same as I trust a doctor who are professional at what they're doing, to do it properly and professionally, than to try and make it a little bit of your business and become a jack of all trades and a master of none, which is the term that most people use.
Yeah, I agree. I firmly believe that the cost of outsourcing a reference is much less than the cost of a staff member doing it based on, you know, what their salary is.
Yeah.
And that's just an initial saving. You know, we'll leave aside the fact that you're potentially saving yourself thousands of pounds later down the line if a reference hasn't been done correctly by not using an expert.
And let's face it, you're not just adding value to the lives of agents, but you're actually delivering value to the end user, if you like. The end beneficiary of this service is the landlord.
Yeah.
They are getting a much higher standard of referencing, a much more thorough standard of referencing, something which is presented in a way that they can quickly and easily look at it themselves and double check that they're happy with things. So it's presented well, but it's also put across to them in a format that they can utilize. It makes the agent look professional. It also you stand a better chance of finding a better tenant, because there is referencing where you've got sort of a minimum bar, and some will slip through the net, and then there's referencing which is really tailored to whatever that agency or that landlord may be looking for, so as much or as little as they want. But it's decent referencing that leads to decent tenants and hopefully a more harmonious relationship with both landlord and tenant.
Yeah, I think, David, I think that automation is obviously cheaper. You know, there's no getting away from this. You know, you can get an automated reference out on the market, I don't know, 5-7 quid. I don't know. I'm not, you know, Emily would probably be able to do that. But you know, if you pay a little bit more, you know, you get more value. You get more value. You get more information.
It's the difference between going to an actual doctor or just Googling it, right?
Correct. Yeah. And it's, you know, why, you see, if you're trying to save, what I can't never get my head around is, if you're trying to save £10 of reference, you know, because the difference between referencing might be 10 quid, yeah, but you've got to only have 1 in 400, 500 go wrong, and all of a sudden, all of that money is gone because one of your tenants has gone wrong and won't leave the property. And by the time you get them out, it's cost the landlord or whoever to the tune of £5,000, £7,000, however much it costs per rent to get them out. But it's not so much that. You might have a landlord that's got 60 properties with you, 100 properties, and all of a sudden one goes wrong because of a poor reference, and he goes, "Hey, I'm not happy with this. I'm going to pull all of my properties with you and my portfolio, and I'm going to move them over there because you just cost me £7,000 for the sake of £10." That's
like Gary said, you pay a little bit more, but you get so much more for your money when you do. It's not worth the risk as a letting agent. It is a risk. It is a risky game, and a lot of times say, well, it's working so far, but you don't know the cost of that until it's too late.
It's like saying you don't need car insurance because you've not had an accident yet. It only becomes...
That's the one we always tell them. Yeah. You never need us until you have to make a claim, and then you'll wish you'd have used us.
So tell me how easy it is so let's say I'm an agent and I am looking to change over my referencing system. I've decided, yes, I'd like something that is a little bit more premium and a little bit more something that's going to deliver value to my clients. And I want to come across to LetMojo. What is your onboarding process? How quickly could I sort of start working with you guys?
Same day. It's so easy. It's just a short application form. We'll get you set up and get you ready to go, and you just start logging references. As simple as that. Because we are completely pay as you go, there's no onboarding costs or minimum fees or minimum spend or anything like that. You just start using us. We don't believe in tying people in. People should stay with us because they want to stay with us and because our service speaks for itself. But yeah, it's that easy, same day.
Well,
I think I think Emily, when you say pay as you go, it's paid on, it's on invoice.
Yeah.
So you don't
do
a reference and have to give us the cost of the reference there and then.
Putting another 50p in the meter.
Yeah. So at the end of the month, we just invoice them for the amount of references times the cost plus VAT.
That's fantastic, because I think that should instill some confidence anyway, because if you guys didn't have confidence in your own service and your ability to wow people with your customer service, then you would try and tie them in for as long as possible, because how else do you retain people? But if you're willing to live and die by your own service standards, then that's superb. It gives the agent and the end user a bit more confidence that you guys are going to go that extra mile.
Yeah, and I am completely confident in that reference. And I always say to agents that are looking to come on board with us, just log one reference. If you don't like us, go away and there's no hard feelings, that's fine. But I'm confident once you log that first one, you'll log a second one, you'll log a third one, and you'll be happy with what we do. And I say just log one, just try us for one. I'm confident that will be all the difference.
And the best deal they can get when they want to use us is to go through the Kerfuffle website.
So they get
That's a boy. There you go, Gary. That's why Gary's on the show today. He remembered the line. The best deal's always through Kerfuffle. No, but anybody that wants your details, they are on the Kerfuffle website, and we'll put them in touch with you guys. It sounds, we've also got links to previous recordings you've done with us, where we go into perhaps a little bit more detail about your system. Is there anything else that you think agents need to know today?
Just give us a try and see for yourselves, I guess.
You can't say better than that. I just want to thank you both for turning up in Kerfuffle Pink today. Not all our guests make the same effort, but you've scored extra points for that. Gary, looking great, looking great. You know where to find LetMojo. It's on the front of Gary's t-shirt, and t-shirts are available from the Kerfuffle gift shop on your way out. All of LetMojo's details should be below. Please do get in touch with them, because they do offer a level of service they're ready to wow you. Just give them one try and you won't look back. Gary, Emily, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.